On point tonight, nobody knows the real JD Vance. They don't know who the real JD Vance is. That is concerning, considering he is now the Republican nominee for Senate in Ohio. It is terrifying, though, when you combine a man willing to say anything, JD Vance, and a secretive billionaire willing to buy a Senate seat. Peter Thiel spent $15 million to support, promote, and win JD Vance the Republican nomination. You see, Vance faced some issues in the Buckeye State, as best described by this attack ad.
The elites were right about Donald Trump, right? I'm a never Trump guy.
Has Trump seen this?
President Trump tweeting a surprise endorsement of Mitt Romney for his run.
How'd that turn out?
Look, I love Trump, but he's getting it wrong with JD Vance, too.
I might have to vote for Hillary Clinton. People who voted for Trump voted for him for racist reasons.
Where does he get off saying that?
We've got our own eyes and our own ears.
JD Vance is a fraud.
And he's changed on a lot of other issues, not just Trump. We're going to get to the flip-flop on Trump. Most Republicans have. Few politicians have backbones. Maybe that's not a big deal. But Vance is a special kind of politician. His political positions change much like the weather during spring in Cleveland. If you don't like it, wait 20 minutes, and it will change, especially if you come with $15 million. Politico reports Thiel helped organize a sit-down with former President Trump and Vance. Then Thiel showed up to make sure things went smoothly. After all, Vance once called Trump Hitler. So peace could be tricky. But Thiel's promise to fund a campaign aligned with Trump's need to pick a winner. And there you go. Add to that Vance's willingness to change overnight from traditionalist capitalist Republican to a Trump, Thiel, Tucker Carlson populist, and everybody won. Take a listen to Vance about Ukraine just a couple of months ago.
I got to be honest with you, I don't really care what happens to Ukraine one way or another. I do care about the fact that in my community right now, the leading cause of death among 18 to 45-year-olds is Mexican fentanyl that's coming across the southern border.
Yeah. There's no chance Vance knows Ohio voters. He knows Ohio voters very well. There is a reason Vance won last night. ABC, among others, reported Ohio Republican voters say the border is the single most important issue to them.
Thanks to the president for everything, for endorsing me. And I got to say, a lot of the fake news media out there, and there are some good ones in the back there. There's some bad ones too, let's be honest. But they wanted to write a story that this campaign would be the death of Donald Trump's America First agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, it ain't the death of the America First agenda.
You could spend a long time trying to figure out what exactly the America First agenda is, because nobody really knows. Maybe that's the point. It is whatever Trump, Thiel, and Tucker say it is at any given moment. Vance went from third to first, thanks to Thiel's money and Trump's endorsement and Tucker Carlson TV hits. Endorsements are as old as time in politics, so are campaign contributions. But in the past, candidates and then office holders were beholden to many rich folks who donated. Vance is now beholden to just one billionaire, one former president, and one TV host. They made JD Vance, or rather JD Vance morphed from a man raised by his grandparents in Appalachia to a Yale-educated venture capitalist, to a traditional Republican, to an angry populist. But now they own him. And as we've seen, JD Vance will do anything, say anything, compromise any value for a vote, for a campaign contribution, or for an endorsement. We asked earlier, who is the real JD Vance? Now we know. That's On Point tonight. Dan O'Donnell is with us now, radio host in Milwaukee, fan of the newest Republican nominee. Dan, good to see you. Maya Angelou once said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Why should we believe anything that JD Vance says?
Well, because you said he's someone who changes his positions as often as the weather changes in Cleveland in spring. He's funded by billionaires. He is desperate to get the recognition and the endorsement of the power base of his party. He's like every other politician. I guess I don't see why JD Vance is a special case. I understand that the flip-flop on Trump was significant. And this really started when I would assume a former friend of his now leaked a private Facebook message in which Vance really teed off. Then there was the article in The Atlantic, I believe. I believe he said, everyone says stupid things. I just say stupid things very publicly.
He's got good PR consultants, right? And he's pretty glib and he's pretty smart. It's how he made his way from Appalachia through the U.S. Marines. Then he wrote this book. He was a Yale venture capitalist and the like. What I'm trying to figure out, though, is how is it populist to be owned by a billionaire?
This, sadly, Leland, is how politics works in America today, whether you're owned by one billionaire or whether you're owned by several. This is the era of Citizens United in which corporations and big money interests do have an outsized influence on politics. I don't think you need to be a far left liberal to understand that. What is relatively new,
hold on. President Trump, though, made the whole point that he was self-funded, and largely he was by himself and then by a bunch of small donors, especially for the 2016 campaign. Say what you want, but that gave him a lot of independence. It's hard to imagine that Peter Thiel has any independence, and he didn't have to take Thiel's money. He didn't have to take this $15 million. He knew he was going to be beholden to Thiel, and he knew the voters wouldn't hold him responsible for that. Why is that?
But the reality is that this is the amount of money that's needed to win in a reasonably large state like Ohio. To win, think about this for a second, Leland.
It was the most ever spent on a race for a primary, but go ahead.
JD Vance is a wealthy individual, all right? He does have a lot of money. Hillbilly Elegy was a bestseller. It was optioned into a Netflix movie. He's made a lot of money in venture capital. But in order to just win a primary, he needed to spend upwards of $20 million. There's no way that anyone short of a Peter Thiel or a Donald Trump would be able to raise that. I mean, think about that. Your donor base, even though politics are sort of more nationalized, are essentially in Ohio. Ohio is very similar to my state in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I can count on one hand the number of billionaires that we've got on this state, or big money interests willing to dump upwards of $20 million into a single race.
Money talks here. That's clear. The question is, will the voters at the general election level hold him responsible for that? Washington Post headline here, this came out just a couple of minutes ago. Ohio's U.S. Senate race pits fake populists against a real one. That would be Tim Ryan, the Democrat who is running. That's the National Review headline. This is the Washington Post one just a couple of minutes ago. This is the question. How do you explain to swing voters, whether they be in Wisconsin or in Ohio, hey, I'm my own man, I am a true populist, I'm here for you, when you're owned by one billionaire?
Well, ultimately, I don't think it's really going to matter. Ohio is safer GOP territory than it ever has been. I don't think Ohio is really much of a swing state. But your question is well taken. I mean, this is a question that I think Vance is going to have to answer, in addition to why is it that he essentially abandoned for a significant period of his adulthood his hometown that he made money off of with his book, talking about growing up as a child in Appalachia and then running off to the West Coast and doing Fox News hits and trying to hobnob with the Thiels and the Trumps of the world. This is something he's going to answer for. But as for this essentially being a swing state, Leland, this isn't the Ohio of 2004. This is Trump country. And I think you had up the map of all of the counties that JD Vance won in that primary last night. It was almost all of them.
Yeah, no, and he did so much better, so much earlier as the vote came in the rural counties where Trump's endorsement really made a big difference. And then some of the suburbs, even up north around Cleveland, where he doesn't have that hometown Appalachia feel. Those points you just made are backed by some serious data. Dan, thank you very much.
As always, Leland.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.